Hello everyone, my name is Primitiva, and welcome back to another episode of Speculative Evolution Project Pokemon. In this series, we analyze a Pokemon, then with that information, we grab an animal that's either alive or extinct, and we let it go on a hypothetical path, with the end goal of it being a Pokemon. So we're basically just turning animals into Pokemon. However, because Pokemon are of course magical creatures, and some of them just look really wacky and out of this world, that means that some of their features might be harder or just impossible to copy into real life. But I will definitely try. So far, I've covered the 3 original Kanto starters and Gengar. And like last time, the patrons voted for this episode. And this episode is going to be all about Magnezone. So the Magnezone line, we're basically working with magnet robots. What animal group even comes close to resembling that? Well, I have something in mind, and it's probably going to be a group of animals that maybe a lot of you never heard of. So let's get into it. Organic is far from what these Pokemon are. Magnemite's a magnet, Magneton is then 3 of those, and then Magnezone is a magnet shaped like a UFO. They're all very good designs, but how do you make them real? What group of weird animals could even get close to resembling these very alien-looking Pokemon? Well, meet the Thylosocephalids, arthropods from the early Silurian, possibly early Cambrian, that lived up until the late Cretaceous. They are surely unique, even amongst arthropods. So much so that people don't even know what type of arthropod they are. Although most people probably think that it's a crustacean. I was originally just considering crabs, or something like that. But then I remembered Dolicharis, one of these animals, this one from the Jurassic period. And I looked at it, saw those huge eyes and that weird body plan, and I was like, that's it. I mean, just look at those eyes. They're enormous and a perfect fit for something like Magnezone. And those legs it has could definitely become specialized to resemble an important part of the Pokemon. Those 6 legs you see were raptorial, meaning that these animals use them for catching prey and presumably putting it into its mouth. Oh, and they could also swim using their abdomen. Yeah, not much is known about these animals. They were only recently discovered in the 80s, but what we do know is stuff about arthropods. So you can easily assume that maybe it had those big eyes to spot prey better, maybe even in the depths of the ocean. But hey, since there's not a whole lot known about these animals, that's kind of a good thing for this episode. It means I got to speculate a whole lot. However, I won't go too crazy, don't worry. Magnezone will likely need a mass extinction to be real. I mean, let's be honest, out of all the Pokemon I've covered so far, this one needs it the most. And the one that I have in mind is the Great Dying, also known as the Big F, or OOF in all caps, meaning overabundance of fatality. And fatality is right. This extinction event killed up to 96% of all marine life, and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates. If you thought that the big meteor that smashed away those non-avian dinosaurs was the worst, oh boy, this one really takes the cake. Although it's all horrible, right? Yes, it's terrible. Life was almost put to a complete stop. However, that also means that it's time for good old adaptive radiation. Time for species to become mega diverse right after an extinction and grab all those newly opened niches. Unfortunately, not a lot of Thylosocephalids to choose from though, but that's alright, they were around for a long time. Something like Dolicharis speaks the most to me, but it didn't live during the Triassic. However, Enkidokazocaris was one from the early Triassic, and it had a similar body plan. Probably a lot had that body plan anyway. Okay, so something like Enkidokazocaris, which lived in the early Triassic. Since a lot is dead, that means that our animal will have a lot of possibilities for evolution. And the kind of place I have for this evolution to take place is the depths of the ocean. So not only is this going to be the first time that I'm going to cover an arthropod, it's also going to be the first time that I'm going to cover something that will live in the depths of the ocean. Oh, and also something that lives in the ocean, but never mind. So, what is one of the many amazing things that a lot of deep sea creatures have that you probably think of first? It's bioluminescence, right? It's gotta be bioluminescence. And you probably thought of the anglerfish first too. Bioluminescence is dope as hell. Definitely more impressive than your average glow stick. Simply put, this is caused by a chemical reaction. An animal must possess luciferin. This is a catch-all term for light-emitting chemical compounds. And when this reacts with oxygen, it creates light. There's many types of this luciferin stuff. Sometimes this is caused by a bacteria that the animal has from birth, or an animal that eats the others to gain this ability, and many other ways. But mostly it's caused by the animal itself. This is then used through the animal regulating their brain and chemistry processes. So it all depends on what they're feeling. Like if they want to find a mate, a meal, or communicate with others. Most of the colors tend to be some type of blue-greenish, because it has a shorter wavelength of light, meaning that it can travel further in the water. Red light is luckily also a thing. Stoplight losejaws are known for this. Because it doesn't travel very far, like the blue-greenish color, this light allows them to see their prey without alerting it or other predators. But they also use the other color, probably as a warning signal to others. Both the red and blue light are possible in the depths, and that gives me an idea. I'm sure you can guess. Now quickly, look at this marine hatchetfish. Looks kind of beautiful, right? Well, okay, maybe creepy to some of you, but look at those scales. These scales help the fish camouflage. What happens is that when a predator points its light at this fish, that the light will get scattered and pretty much go everywhere, confusing the predator in the process. Why did I mention this fish though? Oh, you'll find out later. Like always, let's say that hypothetically, the end Triassic extinction event would have happened differently. Animals living below the photic zone of the ocean could be hit a bit differently, and some of their niches could be opened up. While at the same time everything above that zone would become slowly more competitive, so that the animal has no choice. First, it would have to get used to all the harsh things down there though, such as less oxygen, not that much food, no sunlight, colder temperatures, and more pressure. A slower metabolism is definitely key for living down there. You get what you can hunt, and you rely on whatever floats down, so it's not like you can eat constantly. Better lungs are of course good too, and a body more adapted to the pressure down there. Next up, bioluminescence. Since this is quite common down there, I wouldn't say it's very hard to evolve. And I have something interesting in mind. You know those 3 pairs of claws that these animals have? Well, just look at the shortest ones, the ones on top. What if those became specialized for producing light, both red and blue, so that when lighting up, you can really see the resemblance. Red light can be used to detect prey and ambush them, whilst blue light can be used for warning signals and for mating purposes. But it has those 6 limbs for a reason, right? So what'll substitute the lack of those 2 limbs? This animal will evolve special hooks on its limbs, so that when it catches prey, the prey can't escape at all. After all, it'll be an ambush predator just lurking in the dark to catch prey. Going back to that marine hatchetfish and its silvery scales, what I'm gonna do is basically copy and paste that onto this arthropod. So it'll have a silvery looking exoskeleton. Talk about robotic, am I right? But wait a second, would that work together with the light that it produces? Because whenever it produces that light, wouldn't it just shine everywhere and get refracted? Well, actually no, because there's another fish out there, the viperfish, that also has silvery scales and has a bioluminescent lure. Right, so now we have 2 very important features of Magnezone: a metallic-like body and colors that the magnets give off. But wait, there's one important thing missing. Those little, what are they, little Magnemites to the sides that it has? You know, those things. How would that even work in real life? Well, y'all know the anglerfish, right? The fish that always gets mentioned when talking about the deep sea. You know, uses a lure to catch prey, Lantern is based off of it, and it was in Finding Nemo, all that stuff. Did you know that with some anglerfish species, Ceratiidae, also known as sea devils, being one of the big examples? They got some pretty crazy sexual dimorphism. Males are much smaller, and they don't do a fancy mating dance or anything. Instead, they latch onto a female and just give her his body. That's how they reproduce. And multiple can be stuck to a female at the same time. They don't need to eat. Instead, they get everything from their female. In some species, the males can't even reach adulthood unless they find a female. And if they don't find one, they'll die. So finding one is key. For this, at birth, the males are equipped with a very good sense of smell, since the females give off pheromones. They also have great eyes to spot their lover. But of course, variety exists. Some don't have good smell at all, and some females only allow one male. The assumed reason they evolved like this is because of the low density of females. It's not like they're everywhere, so if you find one, you better stick to her. literally. Females are larger because of the size of their ovaries and eggs, and the males are small because of the resource-poor place they swim in, so it makes sense a male would develop highly enhanced female searching abilities. An advantage is that the male can be used multiple times for making babies, so once a female gets one, she'll be good for a while. Odd way of reproduction, but it works. So, what if we use that same way of reproduction and sexual dimorphism, but with this animal? Though it's a bit more speculative than the other bits, I will admit. Silvery exoskeleton? Sure. Bioluminescence? Check. But that anglerfish thing? Yeah, I couldn't really find out anything about that. Though if there are any arthropods out there that reproduce like that, please let me know because I couldn't find out anything. Why would this be useful though? Well, it would add those little Magnemite looking things to the side, wouldn't it? Although in this case, it would just be males that are sticking to the sides of a female. Look, arthropods are super diverse, so I can definitely see this being a thing, though of course it would be different from the anglerfish. Males would use their very sharp claws to hook and hang on to females, and use their really good eyesight to spot females, especially when she emits a blue light. So the males will pretty much look like small eyeballs with arms. Kind of similar to, Magnemite. If you think that males digging into females is messed up, well, let me introduce you all to the bruchid beetle. During reproduction, he punctures the female's reproduction tract with his very spiky penis. Yeah, it's messed up. It has a name too. Traumatic insemination. Some spiders and fruit flies do this as well. Luckily though, it doesn't hurt our animal that much, because it's just her skin getting punctured, not her bits. Which, we don't even know what those bits were with these animals. Did they use spermatophores to reproduce? Which is a little pack of sperm, or some other method. We don't know. Either way, these males will act the same as the anglerfish, giving up their bodies and fusing. The males will have specialized mouth parts, similar to the pedipalps of a male spider, that it uses for reproduction. It's the first part that gets fused with the female. That way the screw on Magnemite can also be incorporated in this animal whilst making sense. Although I don't know if they'll be able to fertilize the female more than once, but either way the female will have an easier time laying eggs because of this. Some pheromones will be involved from the female, but males mostly rely on their sight, as the scent won't travel too far, but the blue light will. Males will really have to watch out for that, since it won't last too long, otherwise Predator might just catch on to the female. One issue with these animals is that they have two eyes. They're very big, but they don't have one like Magnezone. But since they're so close, and from the side they just look like one big eye, you can definitely see the Pokemon in it. This animal will be simply known as Metacharis, taking the Greek words metallo, meaning metal, and charis, meaning shrimp. It's called this because it looks like metal and a weird shrimp. Yeah, that's kind of it. It's similar to Dolicharis' name. Size-wise though, that's hard to determine. Magnezone is 1.2 meters in height, and from what I could find, no Thylacocephalon could become this big. Is it possible? Sure, I guess, with some classic deep-sea gigantism, but I don't know, it's already too specialized. Giant isopods and Japanese spider crabs can get really big for arthropods, and I love them for it. But again, because this animal was already so specialized, I don't know. There's just not that much known about these animals. Dolicharis, however, was around 20 centimeters, but that's not even as big as Magnemite. I'm afraid that I really can't make Metacharis too big, and I can't really figure out a specific size either, but I do know that the males will be much smaller than the females. But with that out of the way, let's move on to ecology. Around this point, I talk about the pre-evolutions of the Pokemon being the offspring of the animal, and whilst growing into an adult, it will resemble the mid-stage evolution if the Pokemon has any. This is difficult, because so far there have been no larval stages of these animals discovered, though male Metacharis do look like Magnemite, and that was kind of my whole point. Magneton though, yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, I guess if you just place 3 males on top of each other, you get Magneton, right? However, if we are gonna assume that the offspring of Metacharis will resemble the adult, then a mutation could happen as early as birth, where 3 eggs are permanently fused and then hatch. Will it survive though? Probably not, but it's a possibility. especially if these animals lay a bunch of eggs, which again, we don't have enough information about. Remember when I said in the first episode that some bits of some episodes are going to be heavy speculative? Yeah, that's this one right here. I already explained why these Pokemon evolved their light for hunting, but what do they hunt? Well, anything they can fit in its mouth. So mostly much smaller prey, which it lures with its red light. These animals are also eaten by others if given the chance, and I can see some situations happening where the female mistakes a male for food. Since they are arthropods, I can't see sexual maturity taking that long. Maybe a few months, and they could live up to 10 years. Maybe 7, again, not much information. Though, crustaceans, for reference, can get as old as 30, even 50 years. So, it's possible. Because of the differing effects of the ocean, because I handled the Great Dying differently, which is, a pretty big deal, I'm not sure that Metacaras can actually live with the others in the Alpha timeline. Instead, I think it belongs in the Beta timeline, which is actually kind of cool because I was actually wondering when I was going to open up that timeline, and it looks like it's going to be now. So, the question now is, will this animal survive? And for how long? Again, I'll leave that all up to you to speculate. Wow, so that was the Magnezone line, everyone. This one was the hardest one I've tackled so far, considering that a lot of things were left up to pure speculation, but honestly, it was fun.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
You might be thinking, why I went with an animal group that has so little information about them? You all probably thought that I was gonna go with some crustacean, right? Well, I did, maybe? I don't know, I just think that Thylacosophalans, they look very alien, and that's the whole aesthetic with these Pokemon. They look like out of this world, just like the animal, so that's why I decided to go with them. Although, let's be real, any direction you take with these Pokemon will still be difficult. But hey, that's what this whole series is about, and I'm really glad with how they turned out. What would you have gone with? And what did you assume that I was going to use? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Now, unfortunately, as much as I like this series, the art, the editing, everything, the finances for getting these episodes done are low. Look, I'm not really gonna get into all the details, but these episodes aren't cheap to produce. But that's because I want the best quality possible. But because I do have a budget, I don't know how consistently I can keep doing these episodes. Now, I love when you guys get excited about these episodes, but I just don't know if I can keep uploading this much. There will still be episodes, but as of right now, they will probably take much longer to produce. So, to be as straightforward as possible, I have a Patreon, which is in the description down below. It's only $1 a month, and trust me, that $1 a month really goes a long way. On top of potentially seeing more of this series, if enough people sign up, you can also influence the next one directly. For the rest, you can comment down below which Pokemon line you want to see. Of course, only one though. And then I'll grab the most voted Pokemon out of the comments, and I'll put them up on my Patreon. And then the patrons will end up choosing which one it'll be next time. Anyway, that was the video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Be sure to hit that like button for support and subscribe if you haven't already. I got lots of cool stuff on the channel and always more coming soon. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a good day, night, or morning, and as always, take care.